we have to think about how India has become more of a nationalist, chauvinistic, narrow-minded sort of democracy, where democracy has been reduced to just elections. We need more of this kind of work. We look forward to your next book and that of other. I mean, the other day I walked into Barry Sons and all I could see, the bookshop in Khan Market, all I could see was books written by politicians. It is perhaps not happenstance that they also happen to belong to the Congress party. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chandok. May I now request Dr. Pratap Bhanu Mehta to make his presentation, please.
Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, Shri Jayapal Reddy and friends, it's truly a great privilege and honor to be here. It's an extraordinary occasion, not just because Mr. Jayapal Reddy has written a book. I will say just one thing about Mr. Jayapal Reddy. Abraham Lincoln once said that the true test of character in a person is not adversity, it is power. People often have to cope with adversity out of necessity, but how they handle power is something truly exceptional, and I think Mr. Jayapal Reddy is a fine example of a kind of constancy of character that rises above politics. The second reason I'm delighted to be here, it's a special occasion seeing such an extraordinary galaxy of politicians from different political parties present here. And if only this social bonhomie and this communion in thought could be actually translated into political unity, the Republic might be in better shape. I'm saying that not just as a political statement, but because it's a question that goes to the heart of the book that Mr. Jayapal Reddy has written. He's a very shrewd politician and a very wise man. He thinks he's written an academic book. He calls it very sort of humbly, you know, and it is indeed an academic book. It's full of extraordinary erudition, covers a wide range of territory. But I suspect the real reason for writing the book is posing a question to all of us, and especially a question to all of his political colleagues gathered around here. And the question is this: we used to think politics is a contest of ideas, left-right distinction, different debates over more private property, less private property, what economic policies should be. But if we ask around and say, what are the main divisions that characterize our politics? Right? I suspect if you did a survey, the answer most people would give, our politics, either the basis of division is self-interest, or it's some form of collective identity and ethnic identification, right? Some sort of sub-identity, if not national, or nationalism, right? Where is the platform for building a communion around ideas we can all work around? If you read the last chapter of Mr. Reddy's book, he's effectively saying, look, in the transition from agrarianism to industrialism, there was the formulation of lots of different ideologies, different ways of approaching the problem of justice. Liberalism is one, socialism is another, long list, 10 ideologies he talks about. He leaves out conservatism, fascism, and imperialism. I think an interesting kind of omission, right? But the conclusion of the last chapter is, look, humanity is facing something like an existential crisis, particularly under the burden of ecological pressure, right? And potentially, right, being rendered apart, or our basic humanity being denied by the divisions of nationalism and ethnic identification. What is going to be our response to this existentialist crisis? Is the response to this existential crisis going to be, again, a politics of mere interest, it might work, but it won't excite people, right? A politics that simply opposes one mega identity like nationalism with lots of petty nationalisms, right? It can work, but again, not only will not excite people, has equal potential to unleash division and bloodshed. And so the question I think he's asking all of us, and particularly the political class, is how do we define what is the existential threat we are facing as a planet, as Indians, and what is going to be the ideological response, right? Because one of the things ideologies do for all their limitations, sometimes ideologies prevent genuine thinking from emerge, because we often joke in class the difference between an ideologist and a political theorist is an ideologist knows the answer to the question before the question has been asked, right? So ideologies do have their danger of being simplistic, but they do have two distinct advantages. They are a call to action, and most importantly, they are a particular way of recognizing the promise of democracy by looking upon your fellow citizens as beings that are not determinately governed by identity or interest, but as people to whom you have to respond to in terms of ideas and arguments. What does it mean to respect another citizen? Right? Does it simply mean, of course, you have to grant them, all of us, basic rights, individual freedom, individual equality, but it fundamentally means treating them as an interlocutor in a collective dialogue about what are the ideas that are going to actually solve our pressing problems. And in that sense, I don't think what Mr. Reddy has written is just a textbook, a compendium of 10 ideologies. He's slyly throwing a new kind of challenge to us, which is that if Indian politics is to enter a new phase, right, it will have to create a much more imaginative ideological platform. The current ruling dispensation does have an ideology, right? What it has done, as Neeraj Chandok rightly said, is that of all the 10 ideologies in the world that Mr. Jayapal Reddy talks about, liberalism, socialism, they all have the feature of being universalistic, right? And which is why they've all struggled with the problem of nationalism, right? Socialism in one country, is that possible under conditions of mobility of capital? Liberalism has to struggle with the problem of membership, who gets included and who gets excluded within a community. Ernest Gellner once joked that the biggest joke in modernity is that every ideology writes a postcard to humanity, and all those postcards end up at the address called nationalism, right? Nationalism is the one particularistic ideology, right, that has, in a sense, been the ruin of all other emancipatory and hopeful ideologies, right? And I think the challenge, Mr. Reddy, I think by slyly juxtaposing 9 universalist ideologies to one particularist one, right, is not to put them on an equal footing. It is to ask a fundamental question, which is, if a society and ruling dispensation is besotted by a particular ideology that will ruin every other mode of thinking, nationalism will betray liberalism, nationalism will betray socialism, nationalism will betray ecology. You cannot think of the problems of climate change within a purely nationalistic frame, as Jairam Ramesh always used to remind us, right? If that is the political challenge we are going to face, is it going to be enough to simply revert back to politics as usual? And I think we should thank Sri Jayapal Reddy for raising this profound question at such an opportune time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Now it's our turn to our author, Mr. Jayapal Reddy, who will speak on his work.
respected Dr. Manmohan Singh, respected Devagowda ji, respected Amit Ansari ji, my friends and comrades, Sitaram Yachuri ji, General Secretary of CPM, former General Secretary of CPM, another great friend of mine, Prakash Karat ji, Sharad Yadav, a long-time comrade in arms, and Sri Sudhakar Reddy, who has been my friend and rival for more than half a century as leader of the Communist Party of India since our student times. Then above all, Srimati Manmohan Singh ji, who is a picture of perfection in this hall. My friends and colleagues, Sri P. Chidambaram, Sri Jairam Ramesh, members of parliament, ex-members of parliament, my colleagues from Telangana state, almost the entire leadership of Telangana has landed in Delhi. I don't know how to thank each one of them. I have to thank scores of them who landed in Mahbubnagar without an invitation. And my own family, friends, I can't but refer to my wife, Lakshmi, to whom I have dedicated my first book. After Dr. Manmohan Singh ji spoke, he is not only a former Prime Minister, I would call him a permanent professor. When did he ever cease to be a professor? Had the rare privilege of being his cabinet colleague for 10 years. One of the high points of my career. The same privilege was enjoyed by my friend Chidambaram and Jairam Ramesh and many others. We cherish that experience. Dr. Manmohan Singh is a Democrat, not only by conviction, but also by temperament. I find in real life there is often a conflict between temperament and conviction. Here is one man who is a Democrat, not only by abstract belief, but by concrete practice. And he has spoken. Neeraj Chandok ji has expatiated on the themes I dealt with. And Professor Pratap Bhanu Mehta, who is an outstanding political scientist of our country, has made invaluable comments on the book. This is my maiden venture. I might have been an MLA or MP for 45 years. I might have been spokesman of Devagowda government, Gujarat's government, Manmohan Singh's government, Chandrasekhar ji as President of Janata Party, of VP Singh as President of Janata Dal, and after, above all, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who is our beloved Congress President. I had the privilege of being a spokesperson for 4 long years. Lo and behold, I don't believe in any predetermined theories, but political process seems to be somewhat cyclical. We are back to where we were in 2004. 2003, 2004. I was spokesperson between 2000 and 2004. Sonia Gandhi is a great Democrat. She would give me all freedom. And Dr. Manmohan Singh ji gave me so much